Chapter 55. Chapter 55. Breakthrough into the ultimate spiritual sea. It was true Jian Wushuang was about to achieve a breakthrough, but not in the way that Yin Minute and the others thought he would. The breakthrough was not into the gold core, but the spiritual sea realm. No one knew that Jian Wushuang, who could easily kill an expert that had achieved the exceptional spiritual sea realm, had not even entered the realm yet. He sat cross-legged inside the attic, where a boundless spiritual power was beginning to come together inside his body. Having reached the top of the 9th heaven of divine path 3 months ago, his breakthrough would happen at any given time. Earlier, while fighting 3 experts of the exceptional spiritual sea realm, he unexpectedly noticed signs that his spiritual power was about to break through. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for a breakthrough. Naturally, he did not dare to make any delays. Others are in the realm of spiritual sea, but I'm in the ultimate spiritual sea. Jian Wushuang smiled. In the first place, the heavenly creation skill was heaven-defying cultivation method. Cultivating the skill was an act in defiance of the natural order. With every step, he was defying nature and becoming extraordinary. Ordinary martial arts who cultivated the spirit path were in the spiritual realm of 7 realms of spirit steps. Martial artists cultivating the heavenly creation skill, on the other hand, was in the 9 heavens of divine path. The typical warrior would be in the spiritual sea from spiritual power, while those who cultivated the heavenly creation skill would break through into the ultimate spiritual sea. I wonder what's the so-called expansion of the ultimate spiritual sea? Jian Wushuang felt excited. Inside him, his condensed spiritual power was charging at the barrier of his breakthrough, crashing into it. The spiritual power only made impact several times for breaking the barrier. The rest of his spiritual power instantly flowed into all his tendons and vessels. Here came the ultimate spiritual sea. He finally understood the ultimate spiritual sea really was after the breakthrough. It's the amount of spiritual power. I've only broken through into the spiritual sea realm, but there's so much more spiritual power in my body. I'd say it's 10 times more than the ordinary spiritual sea realm warrior. Surprise crossed his face. Compared with the spiritual sea from spiritual power of ordinary warriors, the spiritual power of ultimate spiritual sea is vaster. The spiritual sea realm was divided into 3 levels, namely the initial, profound, and exceptional realm. There would be a vast improvement in spiritual power in every level advancement. But it was a different story for ultimate spiritual sea. Instead of having the profound realm and initial realm stages, the ultimate spiritual sea had 3 levels that increased the amount of spiritual power with each advancement. Now that Jian Wushuang had entered the first level of the ultimate spiritual sea, his spiritual power was 10 times the amount of spiritual sea realm warrior. In stage 2 of the ultimate spiritual sea, his spiritual power would be 100 times the amount of spiritual sea realm warriors. If he reached stage 3, then his spiritual power could be described as truly endless. The amount of spiritual power available should not be taken lightly. Warriors need a strong foundation of spiritual power whether to fight with others or display their martial arts. If they exhaust their spiritual power from a prolonged battle or tricky martial arts, they could only wait to be killed. And what did an endless spiritual power meant? That meant if he was fighting someone of a similar strength, he could rely on his endless spiritual power to prolong the battle and wait for his opponent to exhaust his own. This was truly an unbelievably strong advantage. However, through all 3 levels of the ultimate spiritual sea, only the amount of spiritual power would increase and not strengthen itself. That was to say, his spiritual force outbreak would remain consistent throughout. This was unlike ordinary spiritual sea realm warriors who would see a great improvement in their spiritual power outbreak with each level breakthrough. But that did not bother Jian Wushuang. It's only normal that spiritual power outbreak doesn't improve. After all, his spiritual power outbreak was already comparable to that of the exceptional spiritual sea realm when he was at the peak of the 9th heaven of divine path. If his spiritual power increased to its peak after achieving the final level of the ultimate spiritual sea, could anyone still survive after fighting him? My spiritual power outbreak. He closed his eyes and made a fist. He felt the explosive power in his hand, experiencing a far stronger energy than he had ever felt. A smile came to his face. I've now broken through into the ultimate spiritual sea. Though I won't see any improvements in my spiritual power outbreak in the second and third stage in the future, my current spiritual power outbreak is now good enough to surpass an expert of the gold core realm. He was only in the first level of the ultimate spiritual sea, yet he had spiritual power outbreak of a primordial gold core. His spiritual power, in particular, surpassed that of ordinary spiritual sea realm warriors. This was the ultimate cultivation of the sky after the expansion of the ultimate spiritual sea. Just as Jian Wushuang was marveling at his breakthrough, something else was going on in the underground secret chamber of the Tianhuan sect. Shadows wrapped in black robes appeared one after another. The screams above are getting fainter. Looks like the fighting is coming to an end in the Tianhuan sect, a man with silver mask said. The warriors of the Golden Dragon Palace have been fighting above for nearly 2 hours, enough time for them to wipe out the entire sect twice. Most spiritual sea realm warriors of the Tianhuan sect had already been slaughtered. Most who remained had already fled, with only a handful still scattered in the corners of the sect. Basically, the fight was about to be over very soon. But just then, something happened. Boom! The door to the secret room was kicked open, followed by the sound of hearty laughter. Haha! I didn't expect there's a secret room inside the Tianhuan sect. What's in this room? All the robed men inside the secret room instantly became cold when they heard the laughter. The door of the secret room opened and 4 shadows stepped one after another. If Jian Wushuang were here, he would definitely recognize them at a glance, for they were the ones who had framed him in the past. The minute the 4 men stepped into the secret room, the 9 robed men all glared at them with a deadly coldness. The silver-masked man's gaze was even more severe, piercing enough to stab a human heart like a sword. Oh! Feeling the glares of the robed men, the 4 men seemed like their hearts had momentarily stopped beating. That stout man opened his mouth, wanting to say something. But in that instant, the silver-masked man instantly disappeared. When he reappeared again, he was already standing behind the stout man. The stout man's eyes rounded. He felt a warm sensation in his throat and found only gushing warm blood when he touched his throat. Thud. The 4 intruders collapsed on the ground. The silver-masked man suddenly spoke, his cold voice reverberating inside the secret room. Since we're already exposed, there's no longer any need to hide. Follow me and just kill our way out. I'd like to see who dare stop me. Chapter 56. Chapter 56, Death to Those Who Stop Me. Dongfang Yu stood on the roof of an attic, looking cold. He had 5 experts following him earlier, but now one was missing. There were too many spiritual sea realm warriors in the Tianhuan sect. Though Dongfang Yu and his 5 companions of the exceptional spiritual sea realm were strong, it was not enough for them to rampage through the sect. Not too long ago, they even lost one of their companions in a fierce battle. It's been 2 hours. Those Tianhuan sect warriors that weren't dead had all fled. There aren't many of them left. We've found 3 interspatial ring. I suppose the rest have found the remaining 7, said Dongfang Yu. The 4 people behind him appeared grim. Dongfang Yu would definitely claim one of the 3 things, while they had to share the remaining 2. 2 of them were destined to go back empty-handed, failing to accomplish the mission. These 2 interspatial ring, Dongfang Yu was just about to assign the rings between themselves. Boom! When they felt a terrifying aura suddenly emerging, the 5 of them immediately turned toward the source of the aura. They saw robed shadows appearing one after another, all wearing masks and bearing intense murderous intentions. The one who was the most striking was the man with the silver mask. He was the source of the terrifying aura they felt earlier, so strong that Dongfang Yu could not help the change in his expression. Gold core. It's an expert of the gold core realm. There's actually an expert of the gold core realm in the Tianhuan sect. Everyone from the Golden Dragon Palace was also shocked after sensing the fearsome aura. The difference between the primordial gold core and the spiritual sea realm was like heaven and earth. Even Dongfang Yu, who was close to achieving the gold core, would be defeated by an expert of gold core realm. Worse, he could even be instantly killed. The fearsome aura burst forth from within the silver-masked man, seemingly forming a great storm. When the man charged forward, the storm seemed to be swept away. Death to those who stop me, the man roared, creating a commotion in the Tianhuan sect that had just recently fallen into a brief silence. "Let's go, fast," Dongfang Yu said. Together with his 4 companions, he jumped off the roof in haste and disappeared. He was afraid to even show up in the robed men's line of sight for fear of them targeting him. Whoosh! A figure abruptly appeared before the group of robed men. It was none other than the grey-clothed elder, Mr. Hua. "Are you people from the Bloodfeather Tower?" Mr. Hua appeared grim. He did not expect there would be so many assassins of the Bloodfeather Tower to be hidden within the Tianhuan sect. "Good that you know." The silver-masked man relaxed when he saw the man before him was a mere gold core warrior and realized that the Golden Dragon ambassador was gone. He sneered and said, "Our Bloodfeather Tower doesn't intend on making enemies with the Golden Dragon Palace. Today, you're here to destroy the Tianhuan sect. That has nothing to do with us. We just so happen to witness it. In that case, then I ask you that you leave immediately. In addition, you're not to fight with these rookies who have just accepted the mission of the Golden Dragon Guard. Otherwise, Mr. Hua said in a low voice. As the #1 assassination organization of Tianzhong dynasty, the Bloodfeather Tower did not have a pervasive influence in the Tiannan province. But it was better not to provoke them if there was not a need to. "Don't worry. We just want to leave this place. We naturally won't hurt them as long as they don't stop us." The silver-masked man smiled. He glanced at the 8 black-robed men beside him and said, "Let's go. Kill anyone who dares to get in our way." "Yes." Their figures blurring into mere shadows, the black-robed men jumped onto the pavilion roof and started leaping from one roof to another. Whether it was the remaining Tianhuan sect disciples or the rookies from the Golden Dragon Palace, none dared to stop the impressive sight of an expert of Gold Core Realm leading 8 exceptional spiritual Sea Realm warriors. Just then, Jian Wushuang had stepped out of the attic after breaking through into the ultimate spiritual sea. The moment he came out, he instantly sensed the terrifying aura permeating the Tianhuan sect. He immediately leaped to the roof, finding Yin Minute and Ling Tianhao already there. "Those are..." Yin Minute and Ling Tianhao noticed many robed silhouettes leaping across roofs, charging in their direction. They were particularly frightened by the terrifying aura bursting from the silver-masked man. They both immediately recognized the silver-masked man. It's a gold core standout. 1 gold core and 8 profound spiritual Sea Realm warriors. They're heading in our direction. Let's retreat. They did not hesitate and also warned Jian Wushuang. "Swordsman, hurry up and leave." But Jian Wushuang did not show any signs of wanting to escape. He remained rooted in place, staring coolly at the robed shadows before him. Black robes, masks. Bloodfeather Tower. He muttered these 3 words through gritted teeth, as a burning killing intent raged within him. "OM." He swiped at the men with a ringing sound, releasing his sword essence. The majestic stream of murderous intention and sword essence merged together to be one and flew up to the 9th heaven. The incomparably mysterious power within his body, the power of sword soul, in his body seemed to be gradually awakening at the same time. Jian Wushuang had unsheathed his triple-kill sword in a flash and stood coolly on the roof of the attic as if he was the king of swordsmanship dominating everyone's lives and deaths, drawing everyone's attention to him. "Swordsman, hurry up and go." Yin Minute and Ling Tianhao were surprised to see Jian Wushuang not escaping. Instead, he was standing there bearing a strong intention to battle it out with the robed men. In every corner of the Tianhuan sect, the surviving warriors who had accepted the mission were all standing on rooftops. They had also spotted the figure emitting a strong fighting desire. "It's him. It's the swordsman." These people recognized Jian Wushuang. What is this trash trying to do? He must have gone mad with fear. 8 of those black-robed men were exceptional spiritual Sea Realm warriors and the last was even an expert of Gold Core Realm. He should have retreated after seeing such a group, Dongfang Yu said. He's really digging his own grave. Chapter 57. Chapter 57, Swordsman, Outburst of Power. On the roof, Jian Wushuang had the aura of a master swordsman as he stared at those black-robed men with a chilling expression. Both sides continued moving towards each other. The black-robed men fiercely raced across the rooftops. Upon noticing Jian Wushuang standing in their way, their eyes flashed with killing intent. "Kill him," said one of the black-robed men. Like to said to Mr. Hua, they only wanted to leave. But if someone wanted to stop them, they would attack and kill them without hesitation. Jian Wushuang was clearly planning to stop them. "Swordsman, retreat! 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 Retreat!" Yin Minute and Ling Tianhao shouted widely at Jian Wushuang, but Jian Wushuang did not move at all. "Retreat! Should I retreat? Impossible!" Jian Wushuang roared in his heart. He was too weak 4 months ago, so he could only run away while being chased by a great number of silver and golden masked assassins from the Bloodfeather Tower. But now, 4 months later, everything had changed. More importantly, his opponents were just 1 silver masked assassin and 8 copper masked assassins. They were not strong enough to make him retreat. Since he did not have to retreat, he would fight. "This is war. I couldn't afford to stand out in the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace because there were too many people around. But everything that happens during the Golden Dragon Palace task is top secret. No one would dare to spread the information. So I don't have to worry about drawing attention or my true strength being revealed." Jian Wushuang raised his head, looking at them with cold eyes that were void of any emotion. He moved directly in front of the black-robed men and abruptly swung his triple-kill sword. The first move of anonymous swordsmanship, Blood Shadow. The speed of his sword flashed out. At this moment, it was even more incredible, cold, and harsh than ever before. On the roof, except for the silver-masked man, the other 8 black-robed men saw a dazzling sword light move towards them, with the reflection in their eyes growing larger. The sword light was too fast. A hint of panic could be felt coming from the 8 black-robed men. In the next moment, the sword flash swept past the necks of those 8 men without any obstruction. The 8 black-robed men fell down without making a sound. All of a sudden, the whole Tianhuan sect went dead still. Silence, dead silence. Everyone in the Tianhuan sect was shocked by this terrifying sword speed. On top of the roof, the silver-masked man in a black robe was the only one still standing in front of Jian Wushuang. He glanced at the black-robed men who had all just died and felt frightened. He also saw the stroke from Jian Wushuang. The only one stroke swept past the necks of the 8 men at an amazing speed, killing all 8 of the exceptional spiritual Sea Realm assassins from Bloodfeather Tower. "Who are you?" the silver-masked man in a black robe asked with unprecedented seriousness. "I am swordsman," Jian Wushuang answered indifferently. "I only want to leave here. I'm not trying to impede your task and I'm not a person from the Tianhuan sect. I shouldn't be a target from your task," the silver-masked man in a black robe said in a low voice. "It has nothing to do with the Golden Dragon Palace. You were all dead the moment I saw you," Jian Wushuang said without any emotion. "Let's see who die first." The silver-masked man in a black robe turned into a stream of light and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. A dark red dagger pierced the air and immediately moved towards Jian Wushuang's head with an unprecedented speed. At the same time, a gruff voice from the silver-masked man in black robe rang out. "Go to hell." The eyes of the silver-masked man in a black robe were filled with killing intent. As an assassin at the silver mask level in the Bloodfeather Tower, his first move was a slaughter move. "Ridiculous," said Jian Wushuang. Smiling indifferently, he charged toward the killer. This seemingly casual sword move was the first move of anonymous swordsmanship, Blood Shadow. The speed of the sword light was unbelievably quick. That was the sword movement. The grey-robed elder, Mr. Hua, concentrated on this rooftop fight in the near distance. He looked serious. Sword essence of Gale, he grasped a sense of the sword essence of Gale. And his understanding of it is very deep. The sword movement was so quick. Yes, the speed was very fast. The dark red dagger had not reached Jian Wushuang, yet the sword light from Jian Wushuang's attack had already moved towards the silver-masked man in a black robe. Clang! As a deep metal crash sounded, the silver-masked man suddenly felt a strong power surge through his dark red dagger. The power of the clash instantly numbed his hands and forced him to retreat. The silver-masked man gaped in shock at Jian Wushuang. He hasn't reached primordial golden core, but his spiritual power is as strong as mine. More importantly, His swordsmanship is faster and superior to mine. Sword essence. Yes, he has grasped a sense of sword essence. It was no wonder that the silver-masked man in a black robe was so stunned. He could tell that Zhen Wushuang had not reached the level of primordial golden pill yet. After all, spiritual power had a qualitative change once it reached the level of primordial golden pill. Once it was released, spiritual power at the primordial golden pill level couldn't be hidden. He didn't sense an aura at the level of the golden pill from Zhen Wushuang. So he was sure that Zhen Wushuang had not reached the level of primordial golden pill realm. This alone was enough to thoroughly surprise him. He has reached the peak of initial gold core realm, and there was only one step away from profound gold core realm. He used a slaughter move, but he was thoroughly defeated by Zhen Wushuang, who had not even reached the gold core yet. What does it mean? Run. The silver-masked man in a black robe instantly made a decision. He could only run. As an assassin, speed was his strong point, so he fled for his life. However, the speed of Zhen Wushuang was much faster than his. Trying to escape? Zhen Wushuang said indifferently. What? The silver-masked man in a black robe was astonished and filled with a sense of bitterness. Warriors with a sense of the sword essence of Gale are best at speed. Go to hell, Zhen Wushuang said while releasing a strong killing intent. It was the second move of anonymous swordsmanship, sword-killing movement. A dazzling and bloody sword light appeared. This strike is even faster and stronger than the previous one. The silver-masked man in a black robe was full of despair and he even gave up on fighting back at this moment. The dazzling bloody sword light easily slashed out through his neck. Spurt. The silver-masked man in a black robe, at the level of initial gold core realm, was lying dead on the ground. Chapter 58. Chapter 58. Contemptible Scoundrel. In Tianhuan sect, everyone was surprised to see the silver-masked man in a black robe falling down. He was as proud as a peacock just now and said that no one could stand in his way. But he was killed by someone else in only a second. And it was a person who accepted a one-clawed gold dragon guard mission. Swordsman, he unexpectedly killed a gold core realm expert. He killed all 8 people in the exceptional spiritual sea realm and even the expert in the gold core realm. He couldn't even run away. Is he the same swordsman who could not take 3 moves from Dongfang Yu? He can kill innate gold core realm experts, but he could not take 3 attacks from Dongfang Yu? Everyone was shocked by what they had just witnessed. As for Dongfang Yu, his expression was extremely funny. How was that possible? Dongfang Yu murmured. His eyes were empty. He simply could not believe it. He killed 8 people in the exceptional spiritual sea realm. He even killed the gold core realm expert in 1 move. That man didn't even get a chance to run away. What level was his strength at? And it was the same man that could not take 3 moves from him during recruitment that did it. He couldn't believe it. He recalled what he said to Zhen Wushuang at the beginning of the mission, "You are just a waste. There are so many people in the Tianhuan sect that can kill you." His words had been full of disdain. Thinking back to those words, Dongfang Yu's complexion became very pale. He suddenly realized that Zhen Wushuang must have lost on purpose. After killing the silver-masked man in a black robe on the roof, Zhen Wushuang looked over and noticed Dongfang Yu inside the courtyard. Whoosh! Zhen Wushuang moved swiftly towards Dongfang Yu, appearing in front of him in a second. Whoosh! An icy sword edge hit Dongfang Yu's throat. "Hand over your interspatial ring, or you will die," Zhen Wushuang said coldly without any emotion. Dongfang Yu moved his throat, clearly sensing the icy sword edge, remembering the recent death of the man of gold core realm. He had no doubt that Zhen Wushuang could do it. The 4 people behind Dongfang Yu had disdained Zhen Wushuang earlier, but now they did not even dare to breathe. Should I refuse? Dongfang Yu roared in mind. His small and fragile self-esteem fought with his reason, but in the end, his reason prevailed. While trembling, Dongfang Yu handed over an interspatial ring to Zhen Wushuang without too much hesitation. Zhen Wushuang took the interspatial ring and smiled. He looked Dongfang Yu up and down as if he was a contemptible scoundrel. Finally, Zhen Wushuang withdrew and sheathed the triple-kill sword, walking away without a single word. Dongfang Yu and the 4 people sighed with relief after Zhen Wushuang went away. At that moment, they were totally soaked in sweat, especially Dongfang Yu. He was still trembling even now. Suddenly Dongfang Yu turned to the 4 people behind him. An interspatial ring was taken away by swordsman. That means only 2 people can finish the task now. Dongfang Yu looked gloomy. Then the complexions of the 4 people behind Dongfang Yu turned serious. Yin Minute and Ling Tianhao were waiting in the courtyard. It didn't take long for Zhen Wushuang to arrive. Ling Tianhao moved towards Zhen Wushuang and smiled. Haha, swordsman, innate gold core realm, a real gold core realm expert was killed by you. You are so awesome. You were indeed awesome, swordsman. Yin Minute gave Zhen Wushuang the thumbs up. Well, the reason why your strength improved so much was because you had made a breakthrough, right? Yes. Zhen Wushuang nodded. The reason that he was able to kill the 8 in the exceptional spiritual sea realm with only 1 stroke and even kill the silver-masked man in a black robe, who was at the peak of the initial gold core realm, was because he made a breakthrough and reached the ultimate spirit sea. As a result, his spiritual power improved to a level similar to an average warrior in the gold core realm. If he had not made a breakthrough, he could not have killed the silver-masked man in black robe so easily. We should leave here, Zhen Wushuang said. What about the ring? Ling Tianhao asked. Don't worry. I took an interspatial ring just now, Zhen Wushuang said. Oh. Yin Minute and Ling Tianhao both felt surprised. I saw Dongfang Yu and snatched an interspatial ring from him just now, said Zhen Wushuang, smiling weirdly. After hearing that, both Yin Minute and Ling Tianhao showed great interest. Haha, swordsman, did you confront Dongfang Yu? Ling Tianhao looked excited. I don't think Dongfang Yu has enough courage to fight with you. He must have handed over the interspatial ring immediately. Haha, I wonder how terrible the expression on his face was, Yin Minute said and laughed. Certainly, it must have been very ugly, Ling Tianhao said and also laughed. Both Yin Minute and Ling Tianhao had some kind of beef with Dongfang Yu, so they disliked him. But they both could not contend with him. So it was reasonable for them to be so excited when they heard that Dongfang Yu suffered a defeat on swordsman's hand. Zhen Wushuang only shook his head and smiled. In his eyes, Dongfang Yu was just a contemptible scoundrel and could not make a difference at all. Outside this gigantic valley, the grey-robed elder Mr. Hu waited quietly. Some warriors in the one-clawed gold dragon guard mission had recently returned. Mr. Hu didn't pay any attention to them though. However, when Zhen Wushuang, Lin Minute and Lin Tianhao came back safe and sound, everyone immediately looked in their direction. Swordsman. Although he only reached spiritual sea realm, he killed an expert in primordial gold core. It was too awesome. The people who witnessed the death of the 9 black-robed men had complicated expressions while they looked at Zhen Wushuang more carefully this time. Even the grey-robed elder, Mr. Hu, gave Zhen Wushuang a friendly smile. Mr. Hu said gently, well done, kiddo. Thanks, Zhen Wushuang said modestly. Please wait for a while, said Mr. Hu with a smile. Chapter 59. Chapter 59, Invitation. The experts, who had accepted the task, came back one after another. Dongfang Yu, followed by the brown-haired man, was the last to arrive, but his appearance looked a little unnatural. It's good that there are still 15 people alive in the end, Mr. Hu said indifferently with a casual glance. However, everyone else looked awestruck. More than 30 people at the exceptional spiritual sea realm accepted this mission, but only 15 people survived in the end. In other words, more than half of the people died during the mission. Some were killed by disciples from the Tianhuan sect, while the ones killed by fellow examinees is probably not only a few. Zhen Wushuang thought secretly. Take Dongfang Yu for example. He was followed by 5 martial masters in the beginning, but now there was only the brown-haired man, who was seriously injured. So it was very clear to Zhen Wushuang how the other 4 people had died. Everyone who has an interspatial ring should give it to me, said Mr. Hu. Among the 15 people who survived, 10 stepped forward to hand in their rings. At which point, Mr. Hu took out a list and recorded their names. After recording their names, Mr. Hu waved his hand and threw them gold rings. These are your gold dragon rings. The claw marks represent your rank in the Gold Dragon Guard. 1 claw mark stands for 1 clawed Gold Dragon Guard, while 2 stands for 2 clawed Gold Dragon Guard. From this day forth, you are members of the Gold Dragon Guard, Mr. Hu said loudly. After receiving the rings, Jian Wushuang and the other 9, who had completed the task, immediately used their blood to bind the rings. Is this an interspatial ring? Jian Wushuang became aware of the space contained in the interspatial ring when he inspected it with his mind. Then he laughed and said, "This interspatial ring will make it more convenient to carry things. You should be exhausted after completing the task, so you can take a break before returning to Qingdong City." After saying this, Mr. Hu glanced at Jian Wushuang and said, "Little guy, come with me." Jian Wushuang felt surprised as he followed Mr. Hu to the side. "Little guy, you hid so well. I did not notice the slightest flaw when you were defeated by Dongfang Yu within 3 rounds 3 days ago." Mr. Hu glanced at Jian Wushuang with a smile. Jian Wushuang only smiled awkwardly. "If I'm not mistaken, you should have some grievances with the Bloodfeather Tower, right?" Mr. Hu asked suddenly. Jian Wushuang's complexion changed immediately. "It seems that I guessed right." It was clear to Mr. Hu when he saw the change in Jian Wushuang's expression. Every action has a reason. There must have been a reason for you to prefer giving up your face and allowing Dongfang Yu to defeat you within 3 rounds at the Gold Dragon Subsidiary Palace. Yet, during this mission, you killed all the people from Bloodfeather Tower. So, I guess that you must have a huge feud with Bloodfeather Tower. Hearing that, Jian Wushuang could only shrug his shoulders, replying in a deep voice, "I do, in fact, have a grudge with Bloodfeather Tower. Unless I die, I will never stop seeking revenge." "Unless you die." Mr. Hu frowned. Bloodfeather Tower is the #1 assassin organization in the Tianzong dynasty. Their actions are very cruel and extreme. In the Tianzong dynasty, there are many people who have grudges with the Bloodfeather Tower, deathless endlessly, but Tiannan province is not the main province where Bloodfeather Tower operates. Their insidious hidden strength cannot be underestimated. If you are spotted by them, you will be in a big trouble, Mr. Hu said and smiled. "But don't worry, the rehabilitation capacity of our Golden Dragon Palace is always good, and in general, it's not possible to let out the course of this mission. Therefore, although you have killed several martial experts of Bloodfeather Tower, you don't need to worry about being spotted by the people of Bloodfeather Tower." "I know," Jian Wushuang said and nodded. "But don't worry, our Gold Dragon Palace is always good at dealing with the aftermath. In general, it's impossible for the information of this mission to be leaked. Therefore, although you have killed several experts from Bloodfeather Tower, you won't have to worry about being targeted by Bloodfeather Tower." "Little guy, you should have heard of Dragon Palace?" Mr. Hu asked suddenly. "Of course I have." Jian Wushuang nodded heavily. "It will be much simpler if you already know about the Dragon Palace. Are you interested in cultivating in the Dragon Palace?" asked Mr. Hu while smiling mysteriously. "Go to the Dragon Palace to cultivate?" Jian Wushuang asked while surprised. Dragon Palace was a holy place full of exceptional geniuses. Jian Wushuang has always wanted to join a group like Dragon Palace, a place which was full of geniuses and monsters. "Can I join Dragon Palace?" Jian Wushuang asked immediately. "I'm uncertain whether you can actually join Dragon Palace to cultivate. But, based on your performance in the Tianhuan sect, you can easily kill someone at the peak of initial Gold Core Realm in just 2 moves while you are only in Spiritual Sea Realm. This is incredible, and you can absolutely be called a monster, so you have a very good chance of entering Dragon Palace. Therefore, if you are willing to wait, I will ask for a Gold Dragon Ambassador to come and verify your actual strength once we return to Qingdong City. As long as you can gain the recognition and recommendation of the Gold Dragon Ambassador, you will have a chance cultivate at Dragon Palace." Mr. Hu paused and glanced at Jian Wushuang afterwards. "So I'll ask you now, do you want to go to Dragon Palace for cultivation?" "Yes, of course I do," Jian Wushuang nodded and said immediately, without any hesitation. Dragon Palace was a holy place for cultivation. Numerous talents in the Tianzong dynasty were eager to join and cultivate, and Jian Wushuang was no exception. After all, a warrior who cultivated blindly by himself could become an expert, but compared with warriors who had a lot of resources and were instructed by experts, he would still be inferior. Jian Wushuang possessed remarkable ability in swordsmanship because he had followed his father in practicing swordsmanship since he was a child. Therefore, he knew very well that there was a large difference between having a teacher and learning on his own. Haha, I will immediately arrange for you as you wish after returning to Qingdong City. In addition, it doesn't matter if you eventually didn't enter into Dragon Palace, but once you enter into Dragon Palace, you needn't care about Bloodfeather Tower. Because Dragon Palace will protect its talented disciples strictly, even Bloodfeather Tower is hard to find chance to kill you, and even if there is a chance, they dare not to kill the disciples of Dragon Palace. Mr. Hu said with a smile. After hearing these words, Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up again. What was he most worried about? It was not having the chance to grow up and become stronger, the chance that Bloodfeather Tower did not want to give him. If he joined the Dragon Palace, he could grow up slowly over the next few years under the protection of the Dragon Palace. He would even have a chance to grow strong enough to make the Bloodfeather Tower treat him seriously, maybe even fear him. Chapter 60. Chapter 60, Yi Rufeng. Jian Wushuang returned to where Yin Minute and Ling Tianhao were after his conversation with Mr. Hu. Brother swordsman, what did His Excellency say? The impatient Ling Tianhao immediately asked. He asked me if I want to join the Dragon Palace, Jian Wushuang said. Join the Dragon Palace? Ling Tianhao stared at him wide-eyed. The Dragon Palace? Yin Minute was also looking at him in shock. The warriors who accepted the mission with them also overheard Jian Wushuang's answer and their expressions changed. Some looked envious, some appeared shocked, and there were also those who shot him looks of longing. Dongfang Yu's expression, in particular, was complex beyond measure. He still remembered how his great master, Zhu Dao, had been complimenting him on his ability to join the Dragon Place when they were in the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace. He said Dongfang Yu only lacked someone to recommend him. But Mr. Hu did not even spare him a glance. Yet Mr. Hu had taken the initiative to invite Jian Wushuang to join the Dragon Palace. The way he treated them both was too dramatically different. Humph. So what if Mr. Hu is willing to play matchmaker? The recommendation list is with the Golden Dragon Ambassador, not Mr. Hu. Even if Mr. Hu has the recommendation list, it's not like he'll be able to join the Dragon Place if he wants to. Dongfang Yu was feeling a deep envy toward Jian Wushuang. Now, listen carefully. The sonorous voice of Mr. Hu suddenly reverberated as his gaze traveled around the place. The missions issued by our Golden Dragon Palace have always been secrets. Though you've joined the mission, you mustn't reveal anything about it, whether it's the process or the result. If it is leaked and we find out it's you, we'll kill you no matter who you are. Everyone looked serious. No one dared to defy the rules of the Golden Dragon Palace. Well, let's go back to the Qingdong city. With a wave of Mr. Hu's hand, everyone immediately embarked on their way back to the Qingdong city. They all felt tense when they made their way here, but much more relaxed now that their mission was done. Those who had officially become the one-clawed Golden Dragon Guard were in especially high spirits. Before long, they made it back to the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace in the Qingdong city. The second they reached the place, Mr. Hu immediately said to Jian Wushuang, "Young man, come with me to see the Golden Dragon Ambassador." "Sure." Jian Wushuang nodded. "Brother swordsman, I really need to thank you this time. Go ahead and see the Golden Dragon Messenger. When you return, we must have a good drink," said Ling Tianhao, smiling. "Haozi and I will be waiting for you at the Celestial Immortal Residence with good wine," Yin Minute said with a smile. "No problem." Jian Wushuang nodded with a smile. He then followed Mr. Hu in the direction of the inner hall of the attic. When they came to an empty secret room, Mr. Hu said, "Wait here for a moment. I'll go meet the Golden Dragon Ambassador." "Thank you." Jian Wushuang nodded. Mr. Hu was not gone for long. Soon, he returned with a grim-looking middle-aged man dressed in a crimson robe. Jian Wushuang had met this man before. It was none other than the Golden Dragon Ambassador who had killed 14 experts of the Gold Core realm of the Tianhuan sect. He immediately bowed. "Your Excellency, Golden Dragon Ambassador. Man, is he the young man who you mentioned has the chance to cultivate in the Dragon Palace?" The middle-aged man asked. "Yes, his name is Swordsman," Man replied. "Swordsman? It's probably a pseudonym." When the middle-aged man looked at Jian Wushuang, he felt as if he was being targeted by an ancient fierce beast. "I'll introduce myself first, young man. I'm Yi Rufeng and, as for my rank, you should be aware that I'm the Golden Dragon Ambassador of the Golden Dragon Palace," Yi Rufeng said slowly. "Earlier Man has told me about you and he spoke highly of you. But the recommendation list to enter the Dragon Palace is in my hands. So if you want to join us for cultivation, you must first display enough talent to satisfy me." "I understand." Jian Wushuang nodded. "Good. I'll be your opponent. Show me all that you've got and remember, you don't have many opportunities," Yi Rufeng said. "Yes." Jian Wushuang took a deep breath, his expression turning solemn. As what Yi Rufeng had mentioned, he truly did not have many opportunities. "Golden Dragon Ambassador, I'll start." He was already gripping his triple kill sword and a strong fighting desire rose in him. "Feel free to come at me." Yi Rufeng had his hands behind his back and wore an indifferent expression. Anonymous swordsmanship, sword-killing movement. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold as he gathered his killing intent. A stream of dazzling bloody sword essence burst forth. His killing intent rose sharply at that moment, before being pushed to its peak. Yi Rufeng was surprised. "Oh, it's the formless swordsmanship." He, as the Golden Dragon Messenger and the strongest warrior at the Yin-Yang Void Realm, was naturally familiar with the so-called first in the world, the formless swordsmanship. He did not use any martial arts technique or show any of his amazing cultivation of spiritual power. With a simple wave of his sleeves, he easily diffused Jian Wushuang's strongest sword move. When he was done, he stretched out his fingers. Clang! He caught the edge of the triple kill sword like a pincer. No matter how much Jian Wushuang struggled, he could not move the sword out of Yi Rufeng's firm hold. Jian Wushuang was greatly shocked. He had long known that Yin-Yang Void Realm warriors had impressive strength, but he did not expect it to be this strong. After making a breakthrough into the ultimate spirit sea level, he could kill the strongest initial Gold Core realm with ease. But now the strongest move he could use was so easily diffused by Yi Rufeng, to the point where his sword was even being controlled by mere fingers. "You're already pretty good to be able to use the second type of the formless swordsmanship to this extent." Yi Rufeng was still holding the triple kill sword in place, but he was now smiling at Jian Wushuang. "You imbued the sword essence of Gale in your swordsmanship and you also have a high comprehension of it. Not bad. Not bad at all." He finally loosened his grip, allowing Jian Wushuang to retrieve his sword. "It's a shame that I don't have a swordsmanship suitable for the sword essence of Earth. Otherwise," Jian Wushuang balled his hands into fists, feeling unsatisfied with the outcome. He had comprehended sword essence of Gale and sword essence of Earth at nearly the same time. Though he comprehended the former earlier, he later realized that he comprehended sword essence of Earth faster and ended up doing just that in the Dark Forest in the past 3 months. Thus, he had a better comprehension of the sword essence of Earth. Unfortunately, he did not have a suitable swordsmanship to display it. Take his strongest move, the anonymous swordsmanship, as an example. It emphasized on speed and was most suitable to be used with the sword essence of Gale. When paired with the sword essence of Earth, it not only seemed out of place, its might was also reduced greatly. Chapter 61. Chapter 61, Going Through the Dragon Gate. "Gold Dragon Ambassador, what do you think about this little guy?" Man asked. "His comprehension of the sword principle of Gale is good." Yi Rufeng smiled slightly and looked at Jian Wushuang, then continued, "Little guy, how old are you?" 17, Jian Wushuang replied. "Only 17? Yi Rufeng and Man both had a surprised expression, then Yi Rufeng laughed and said, You are excellent considering your high comprehension of the sword principle of Gale. Little guy, you should prepare yourself to go to the Dragon Palace with me in 2 days. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up because he understood that Yi Rufeng recognized his talent and was going to recommend him. Thank you so much, Gold Dragon Ambassador, Jian Wushuang said immediately. You are welcome. It will also benefit me if you really become a disciple of Dragon Palace. Yi Rufeng gave a wave. Jian Wushuang nodded and then he left. Qingdong City, Celestial Immortal Residence. Brother Swordsman. Swordsman, how did it go? Yin Minute and Ling Tianhao had been waiting for him since earlier. The Gold Dragon Ambassador promised to recommend me. But it's not guaranteed that I can join Dragon Palace, Jian Wushuang said. Haha, based on your strength, you should definitely be able to. Come on. Cheers, Ling Tianhao said and smiled. Jian Wushuang grabbed the wine cup and had a toast with Ling Tianhao. Although the time that he had been acquainted with Yin Minute and Ling Tianhao was not long, he found that they were a spontaneous and merited group after getting along with them. The status of a Gold Dragon Ambassador is high and he knows a lot regarding Dragon Palace. Also, a Gold Dragon Ambassador has a limited number of recommendations, so each recommendation is important. Since the Gold Dragon Ambassador recommended you, it means that he thinks you have the ability to make it through the test to join Dragon Palace, Yin Minute said. Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. Indeed, Yi Rufeng was well informed on the situation inside the Dragon Palace. Since he was willing to recommend him, it meant that he was confident in Jian Wushuang. Haha, based on that, you will definitely be able to join and cultivate in the Dragon Palace. Come on. Cheers. Cheers. Congratulations. Ling Tianhao said instantly. Jian Wushuang and Yin Minute also lift their cups. The three of them were drinking with passion. 2 days later, at the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace. Little guy, are you ready? Let's go, Yi Rufeng said. Jian Wushuang nodded and then he left the city with Yi Rufeng. Now, they were outside of the city. Grasp my hand, Yi Rufeng said. After grasping Yi Rufeng's hand without hesitance, Jian Wushuang felt a special power gathering beneath Yi Rufeng's feet. Subsequently, the figure of Yi Rufeng was floating and then Jian Wushuang also began floating. Then, they left at an incredible speed. Is this void walk? Jian Wushuang was surprised and became even more eager to reach the Yin-Yang Void Realm. The distance between the Dragon Palace and Qingdong City was equal to the most remote provinces. It would take 1 or 2 months to rush to the Dragon Palace if Jian Wushuang walked there on his own. But now it would only take 1 day to rush to the Dragon Palace under Yi Rufeng's lead. Is this the Dragon Palace? Jian Wushuang was still floating in the air, overlooking the boundless ground in astonishment. Below him, he saw an area between 2 giant mountains, full of magnificent palaces and pavilions that towered above the ground. In the center, a statue of a gold dragon was coiled up, appearing as if it was flying to the 9th heaven. Let's go down. Yi Rufeng dived down along with Jian Wushuang. Upon reaching the ground, many figures appeared in front of them. These people all wore the same golden armors and helmets, holding golden long spears. When they saw Yi Rufeng, they paid their respects instantly and said, "Your Excellency, where are the 2 palace masters?" Yi Rufeng asked directly. They are both staying at the Dragon Gate, a golden-armored sergeant, a leader among them, said. Oh. The Dragon Gate. Is there an exceptional genius going through the Dragon Gate Pass? He should be fascinating if he drew the attention of the 2 palace masters, replied Yi Rufeng. Yes. He is new, but his talent is unbelievable. It's said that he has made it through the 6th layer, said the golden-armored sergeant. What? The 6th layer? Yi Rufeng was shocked and then waved his hand, saying, "Carry on with your duties. I'll go meet the 2 palace masters on my own." Okay. Those golden-armored sergeants went back to work immediately. However, they could not help glancing at Jian Wushuang as they left. Jian Wushuang's expression was serious. Once those golden-armored sergeants were gone, he could not help asking, "Your Excellency, those sergeants are all experts in the Gold Core realm?" Yes. And their strength is at the peak of the Gold Core realm. Yi Rufeng smiled casually and continued saying, Those golden-armored sergeants are the emperor-guarding army that is well known in the Qianzong dynasty. They specifically guard the imperial palace and some other important areas. They are the most elite and violent force in the Qianzong dynasty. The battle strength of the army is astonishing. The minimum strength required to become a sergeant in the emperor-guarding army, the peak of the Golden Core realm. What? Jian Wushuang was astonished. The minimum strength required for normal sergeants was the peak of the Gold Core realm? Little guy, I have heard from Huaman that you have a great enmity with the Bloodfeather Tower, and that it's irreconcilable. Is that right? Yi Rufeng asked while looking at Jian Wushuang. Yes, Jian Wushuang said and nodded. Don't worry about the Bloodfeather Tower. As long as you can make it through the Dragon Palace's test and become a disciple of Dragon Palace, you will be protected. The Dragon Palace is located at the campsite of the Emperor Guarding Army. There are many experts. The Bloodfeather Tower has no way to kill you in the Dragon Palace, even if they sent all of their experts here, said Yi Rufeng. Jian Wushuang believed him. Your Excellency, is the Dragon Gate that the sergeant mentioned also the testing area for joining the Dragon Palace? Jian Wushuang asked. You are clever. Yes, a carp jumping into the Dragon Gate means that you are successful. Every disciple who joins and cultivates in the Dragon Palace has to make it through the Dragon Gate pass. That is the test you must pass, Yi Rufeng narrated. The test in the Dragon Gate is special. It doesn't test your cultivation, spiritual power, or your martial arts technique. It tests your comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth. The Dragon Gate has total 13 layers. The first layer requires comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth. The higher your comprehension, the more layers you go through. Under normal circumstances, the minimum for joining the Dragon Palace is to make it through the third layer. Because your swordsmanship was executed using your comprehension of the sword principle of Gale, I think that you are very likely to make it through the third layer. That is why I recommended you, Yi Rufeng said. Based on my comprehension of the sword principle of Gale, it is very likely that I can make it through the third layer. Jian Wushuang's expression became strange. From what the golden-armored sergeant said earlier, a new person, like him, that just arrived, was currently going through the Dragon Gate and had already passed through the sixth layer. Chapter 62. Chapter 62. Peerless Genius Yang Zixuan. Okay. This is the Dragon Gate. Yi Rufeng led Jian Wushuang to a towering golden pavilion. At a glance, the pavilion appeared to have 13 levels. At the moment, many people were standing in front of the golden pavilion. The two most prominent people were an old man wearing a black robe and a graceful woman dressed in white. Even though Yi Rufeng was an expert, upon seeing these two people he bowed to pay his respects and said, Greetings, Palace Master Black and Palace Master White. Yi Rufeng. The graceful woman in white looked at him and Jian Wushuang, then said with a smile, You brought this little guy to go through the Dragon Gate? Yes, said Yi Rufeng with a nod. You will have to wait a minute. Someone else is already going through the Dragon Gate now, said the graceful woman in white, then she turned her head immediately. Yi Rufeng and Jian Wushuang had no choice but to wait quietly. Jian Wushuang lifted his head and looked at the towering golden pavilion. The lowest 6 levels of this 13-level golden pavilion were shining. Jian Wushuang knew it meant that 6 levels had been passed by the genius that was currently going through the Dragon Gate. Currently, the genius was making his way through the 7th level. Suddenly, the 7th level of the golden pavilion also burst out with a golden light. He passed the 7th level. Yi Rufeng shouted out in shock. Many others outside of the golden pavilion also shouted out in surprise. Sir Yi, is it amazing that he passed the 7th level? Jian Wushuang couldn't help asking. Amazing. It is really amazing. Yi Rufeng nodded seriously and said, I have told you that moving through the Dragon Gate is based on your comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth. It's likely that you could make it through the 3rd level with your comprehension of the sword principle of Gale. But it's hard to say if you could make it through the 4th level. As for the 7th level, it's a huge bottleneck. Generally speaking, only someone with comprehension equal to an expert in the yin-yang void realm can make it through. In other words, If someone gets through the 7th level, it means that his comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth is not less than an expert in the yin-yang void realm. Jian Wushuang was shocked. How strong was an expert in the yin-yang void realm? How high was an expert's comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth? Jian Wushuang could not imagine it. However, he knew that the amount of time he spent comprehending the essence realm of heaven and earth was short. Although he reached a certain level of understanding, there were numerous people whose comprehension was higher than his just among experts in the gold core realm. As for the yin-yang void realm, he was too far away from them. If going through the 7th level is amazing, how about the 8th level? Jian Wushuang asked. Suddenly, the 8th level of the golden pavilion immediately burst out with golden light. He passed through the 8th level. The 8th level. Yi Rufeng had a shocked expression. No wonder the 2 palace maters of Dragon Palace came, a marvelous new member has appeared. Even before cultivating in Dragon Palace, he can already pass through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate. There's no doubt that he'll make greater progress after cultivating in Dragon Palace. His achievements will be even more spectacular. He is really a peerless genius. Yi Rufeng was full of praise, but Jian Wushuang only gave a shrug after listening to his explanation. He was just good in the eyes of Yi Rufeng, but the genius going through the Dragon Gate was praised by Yi Rufeng. With this, it's easy to see how amazingly talented he was. Going through the 8th level of Dragon Gate represented that his comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth had surpassed many experts of the yin-yang void realm. It also induced a burst of surprise outside of the golden pavilion. However, the 8th was the limit. The 9th level of the golden pavilion did not light up in the end. Jingle. The gate of the golden pavilion opened. Wearing a blood-red robe, with a blood-red saber on his back, a young man slowly appeared before the eyes of the crowd. Everyone looked at the young man for the first time, including Jian Wushuang. He was slender and handsome with a hint of indifference and pride on his face, a glimmer of an unyielding will was hidden in the deep of his eyes, and he emanated an aura of coldness. The man is cold. Jian Wushuang frowned secretly. Ha, little guy. Welcome to Dragon Palace. The Black and White Palace Masters, as well as the nearby experts of the Dragon Palace, all greeted him with a smile. Little guy, what's your name and how old are you? Palace Master White asked with good intentions. Yang Zixuan, 21, he replied in a cold voice. Everyone who heard him was immediately surprised. 21. He is only 21 years old, yet his comprehension of the essence realm of heaven and earth is already so high. He managed to pass through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate. The most dazzling talent in Dragon Palace only made it through the 8th level. Awesome. Our Dragon Palace will become boisterous. Bai Cheng finally has a rival. Many disciples of Dragon Palace that were present were talking about that. A 21-year-old man had gone through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate. Even in Dragon Palace, it was incredible. He was the most exceptional one among all the exceptional geniuses. After all, previously, there had only been one person that made it through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate. And he was known as the #1 genius in Dragon Palace, Bai Cheng. Yang Zixuan is amazing, Yi Rufeng said, then sighed with emotion. Having sighed for a while, the Black and White Palace Masters looked at Yi Rufeng and Jian Wushuang. Yi Rufeng, you can let this little guy you brought go through the Dragon Gate now, Palace Master White said, completely ignoring Jian Wushuang. The Palace Masters had a high status, so the geniuses who had gone through the Dragon Gate were only worth a glance to them. Only a peerless genius like Yang Zixuan could excite the 2 Palace Masters and receive their enthusiastic treatment. Little guy, you should go. Remember, you should try your best to go to the highest level you can reach, said Yi Rufeng. Okay, said Jian Wushuang, then he nodded and went straight towards the golden pavilion without paying attention to the gazes of the people around him. He quickly entered the golden pavilion. The first level of the Dragon Gate. A red-haired man was sitting cross-legged on the empty ground. When Jian Wushuang walked inside, the man suddenly glared at Jian Wushuang and said, Little guy, if you beat me, you can go to the next level. Come on. As soon as he finished speaking, the red-haired man began to brandish his large axe, which was surrounded by a blast of invisible airflow. In an instant, the large axe slashed toward his opponent. Jian Wushuang immediately swung his triple-kill sword to block the blow. Then he directly took the chance to strike back, scratching the garment of the red-haired man. Obviously, the red-haired man was defeated. He made it through the first level. Chapter 63. Chapter 63, the fourth level. On the first floor, the opponent I met was good at axemanship, but he did not comprehend any of the essence realm of heaven and earth. Therefore, it was easy to defeat him. Jian Wushuang thought privately, then he entered the second floor. The opponent he faced on the second floor had comprehended a trace of the essence realm of heaven and earth. It was the Gale essence, but only the initial stage, so Jian Wushuang still defeated him easily. On the third floor, Jian Wushuang faced a much stronger opponent. After all, one must pass through the third level, at the least, to enter Dragon Palace. Naturally, it was more difficult. Go to hell. An ice-cold sword light flashed before disappearing in an instant. In the end, Jian Wushuang defeated him with the first move of anonymous swordsmanship. On the fourth floor, Jian Wushuang's opponent was a black-clothed elder, who held a purple soft sword in his hand. Chuu. Another ice-cold sword light flashed. Once again, it was the first move of anonymous swordsmanship, Blood Shadow. Formless swordsmanship? The black-clothed elder smiled slightly and said, "What a coincidence, I can use the sword essence of Gale too." The same ice-cold dazzling sword light appeared in the black-clothed elder's hand. They were brandishing two of the same sword shadows with the same sword essence. Not only that, both of them released nearly the same spiritual power because the opponent was from the Dragon Gate. Clang. The two sword edges met. What? Jian Wushuang was astonished and downcast. He could clearly tell that the swordsmanship used by the grey-clothed elder was faster than his, even if it was only by a little. His comprehension of the sword principle of Gale is higher than mine. Jian Wushuang realized immediately. Sword-killing movement, Jian Wushuang followed with the second move of anonymous swordsmanship. Haha, it's useless. In the Dragon Gate, the real test is in your comprehension of essence realm of heaven and earth. Martial arts technique and swordsmanship don't make a big difference here. Besides, I can use sword-killing movement too. The killing intent from the purple soft sword in the black-clothed elder's hand exploded, attacking with a sword light which was equal to the one Jian Wushuang released. Once again, two equal sword lights met, and the black-clothed elder suppressed him again. "Little boy, give it up. You are too weak in the sword principle of Gale to pass the fourth level," the black-clothed elder said with a smile. "Really?" Jian Wushuang's expression became serious, then he said, "What about this move?" After saying that, a heavy sword essence was released. Jian Wushuang swung his long sword with great momentum. "It's Earth Sword Essence." The black-clothed elder's expression changed. It's not easy to comprehend the essence realm of heaven and earth. Comprehending one was difficult, to comprehend two at the same time was much more difficult. Yang Zixuan, who passed through the 8th level just now, was a super genius that comprehended two at the same time. The black-clothed elder didn't expect that the little guy standing in front of him, who was under 20 years old, not only had a high level of comprehension in the sword essence of Gale, but also comprehended Earth Sword Essence at the same time. A sword shadow with great momentum rushed straight towards him, as if it could chop up a mountain. After perceiving the great amount of power contained in the sword shadow, the black-clothed elder's countenance changed a little. He didn't fight back recklessly, quickly choosing to dodge it instead. However, before the elder could use his sword to attack, Jian Wushuang changed his sword essence again. He used the sword essence of Gale along with the first move of anonymous swordsmanship, Blood Shadow. He can shift between the sword essences of Gale and Earth so easily. The black-clothed elder was surprised and smiled bitterly. The sword essences of Earth and Gale. One was massive and majestic with power and influence, while the other was flexible and visionary. If he could perfectly transition between them, these two sword essences would produce a terrible power which the grey-clothed elder could not oppose. The 4th level of the Dragon Gate passed. As for the 5th level, The opponent Zhen Wushuang faced also comprehended the sword essence of earth. Not only that, he was stronger than Zhen Wushuang in sword essence of earth comprehension and used it more freely. Zhen Wushuang tried his best, fighting with him for quite a while. But finally, he was defeated, causing him to stop at the 5th level. When Zhen Wushuang walked out of the Golden Pavilion, all the experts of Dragon Palace that were waiting outside looked at him. Passing through the 4th level is good enough, so he is qualified to enter Dragon Palace. However, there is a large gap in skill between him and Yang Zixuan. An extraordinary genius like Yang Zixuan is rare. It is impossible to come by two in a single day. Everyone in the area was secretly discussing it. "Little guy, what's your name and how old are you?" Palace Master White walked to him and asked directly. "Swordsman," said Zhen Wushuang, still chose to use this pseudonym, 17 years old. 17 years old? Everyone in the area was astonished, including both of the palace masters. Then, Palace Master White smiled and said, "Haha, good. It seems that we have one more genius. It's rare for a 17-year-old kid to pass through the 4th level of the Dragon Gate. You could be ranked between middle and upper among the many disciples in Dragon Palace." Palace Master Black, who stayed silent, nodded in agreement. "Yi Rufeng, you brought a good disciple to Dragon Palace." Palace Master White looked over at Yi Rufeng. "I just did my duty," said Yi Rufeng, remaining humble. "Yang Zixuan, swordsman, from now on, you are both disciples of Dragon Palace. Congratulations for becoming one of the many monsters in Tianzong Dynasty," said Palace Master White with a laugh. Zhen Wushuang and Yang Zixuan stood side by side. After hearing this, Zhen Wushuang smiled slightly and Yang Zixuan was indifferent as always. "Come with me. I will take you to visit Dragon Palace," said Palace Master White, intending to escort both Zhen Wushuang and Yang Zixuan. Suddenly, the surroundings totally calmed down. A white-haired man wearing white slowly walked into the people's sights. His hair is as white as snow, the strongest genius, Bai Cheng, the strongest disciple in Dragon Palace. It's him. He actually appeared. As he approached, all the disciples of Dragon Palace watched him with grim looks on their faces. "Is he Bai Cheng?" Zhen Wushuang slightly squinted his eyes while hearing Bai Cheng's name mentioned in their discussion. "The strongest person in Dragon Palace?" Yang Zixuan raised his head and saw the white figure, with cold and prideful eyes, walking slowly in their direction. The white-haired man in white stopped. His black eyes, full of arrogance, swept over them as the sides of his mouth stretched upwards to form a meaningful smile. "I heard that a newcomer passed through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate today, so I wanted to see for myself." Chapter 64. Chapter 64, ranked at the bottom. Palace Master White, may I know which one of these two passed the 8th level? Though he seemed kind and gentle, there was a trace of insidious coldness inside his eyes when looking at Zhen Wushuang and Yang Zixuan. Palace Master White instantly introduced them one by one, starting with Zhen Wushuang. "This is Swordsman, 17 years old. He passed through the 4th level." "Oh." Bai Cheng glanced at Zhen Wushuang with a faint smile and said, "The 4th level. He would be ranked at the bottom among the many disciples of Dragon Palace. But he's young. If there are no accidents, it's possible for him to pass the 7th level before 20. He can reach the same level as Golden Dragon Ambassador Yi and would barely be an expert in the Tianzong Dynasty." Hearing what he said, Yi Rufeng smiled faintly and ignored it. He did not dare to show any disdain. However, Zhen Wushuang frowned and felt unpleasant. "I might reach the level of Yi Rufeng. I might barely become an expert. Even I can't imagine what I might achieve in the future. What makes Bai Cheng think he can judge me with one glance in such a condescending manner, acting as if what he says will definitely come true in the future? How arrogant and conceited can he be?" Even though he was unhappy, he didn't openly offend Bai Cheng. "This is Yang Zixuan. He is the one who passed the 8th level and he is currently 21 years old," replied Palace Master White. Bai Cheng turned to face Yang Zixuan and fixed his eyes on him before saying, "To pass through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate at 21 years old, you're promising. In Dragon Palace, I'm afraid that there is no one but me who could suppress you. You mean you are stronger than me right now? Yang Zishuan's expression fell. Bai Cheng didn't answer him, he just smiled confidently. Palace Master White, no one is in the Dragon Gate, right? Bai Cheng asked. Yes. Palace Master White nodded. Okay, I have not been tested in a long time. Today, let me give it a try. After saying that, he immediately entered the Dragon Gate. Both Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan, who were supposed to leave, stopped and looked carefully at the Golden Pavilion to see what would happen. After entering the Dragon Gate, Bai Cheng quickly passed through the first level, causing it to light up. Then he continued moving forward smoothly. He passed 8 levels in succession. Bai Cheng entered the 9th level and stayed in it for a long time before the 9th level finally lit up, releasing a golden light. The 9th level of Dragon Gate passed. He actually passed the 9th level? Yi Rufeng was shocked and couldn't say anything. It should be known that even if it was him, he would not be able to pass it, even after trying his best. However, Bai Cheng succeeded. He really was the top genius in Dragon Palace. This is the strongest person in Dragon Palace, so awesome. Though Yang Zishuan is great, he is new and young. He cannot compete with Bai Cheng yet. We thought Yang Zishuan would be strong enough to be Bai Cheng's opponent, but the truth is that he is far away from him for now. A large number of disciples of Dragon Palace in front of the Dragon Gate were discussing the recent events secretly. Not long after that, Bai Cheng walked out of the Golden Pavilion. Under the watchful eyes and shocked expressions, Bai Cheng walked over to Yang Zishuan again and smiled slightly before saying, "You'll need to work harder, freshman." After saying that, Bai Cheng left without looking back. Since Jian Wushuang only passed the 4th level, Bai Cheng did not even give him a second glance. He is really arrogant. Jian Wushuang licked his lips, the battle intent vaguely rising in his eyes. Yang Zishuan, what do you think? Jian Wushuang suddenly asked. About what? Yang Zishuan looked at him indifferently. I don't like him, don't you want to defeat him? Jian Wushuang asked. Crush him under my feet. He won't be qualified to be my opponent within 1 year, replied Yang Zishuan. Hearing that, the corners of Jian Wushuang's mouth quirked up. All of you are so arrogant and conceited. Okay, you are peerless geniuses, so it's normal to be proud of yourselves. Besides, you really are strong. Jian Wushuang thought. Someone who just joined, passed the 8th level of the Dragon Gate, and the other one passed the 9th level. However, he could only pass the 4th level after trying his best. So there was a huge gap between him and those 2 peerless geniuses. The wider the gap was, the more it inspired him. There was a gap now, so what? It should be known that he had only started comprehending the essence realm of heaven and earth 4 months ago. It's unbelievable to comprehend both of the sword essences of Gale and Earth to such a high level within 4 months. No matter whether it was Bai Cheng or Yang Zishuan, they were both older than him and they had spent much more time comprehending the essence realm of heaven and earth as well. Bai Cheng asserted that I could only be a golden dragon messenger like Yi Rufeng in the future. Let's see. Jian Wushuang snorted. All right, go back to your places. Yang Zishuan, swordsman, you both follow me, Palace Master White said. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan followed Palace Master White. Yi Rufeng and the Golden Dragon Messenger who brought Yang Zishuan here followed Palace Master Black to receive their rewards. These Golden Dragon Messengers had the right to recommend disciples. Every recommendation that passed the test and became a disciple of Dragon Palace would earn the Golden Dragon Messenger a reward based on the strength of the disciple. In the Dragon Palace, both Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan were curiously examining their surroundings while Palace Master White was telling them the basic information and rules of Dragon Palace. Dragon Palace is a cultivation sanctuary. You both became disciples of Dragon Palace means that you are talented. In Dragon Palace, there are 238 disciples, not counting both of you. Among the 238 disciples, only one had passed the 8th level of the Dragon Gate, and that was Bai Cheng. But now he has passed the 9th level. 16 disciples passed the 7th level. 67 passed the 6th level. 141 disciples passed the 5th level. The 13 disciples left past the 4th level. After saying this, Palace Master White could not help glancing at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang also could not help touching his nose with an embraced expression. There are 238 disciples in total and only 13 of them were at the 4th level. Most disciples were all at the 5th level or higher. It seems that Bai Cheng was right. I am at the lowest level in Dragon Palace right now. However, Jian Wushuang didn't worry about being at the bottom. It didn't mean that he would be at the bottom forever. So many geniuses are in Dragon Palace. However, the more geniuses the better for me. Jian Wushuang's eyes were sparkling with excitement. Chapter 65. Chapter 65, 4 Matchless Heroes. Dragon Palace is known as a holy place for cultivation, and it's worthy of the name. Palace Master White continued. The 4 temples of earth, fire, water, and wind, the secret land of heaven and earth, and the secret pavilion are the 3 treasures of Dragon Palace. They are of great help to the disciples of Dragon Palace. As for the benefits of the 3 treasures, you will gradually understand them in the future. In addition, there are also 2 places for practicing. The Dragon Gate and Heavenly Palace. The Dragon Gate, which you have just tried, is the best place to test the progress of the Dragon Palace disciples. It can accurately gauge the disciples' perception to the essence realm of heaven and earth. As for the Heavenly Palace, that is used to test overall strength. Usually, no one will go to the Heavenly Palace. Only disciples who have enough strength to leave Dragon Palace will go to the Heavenly Palace. Palace Master White simply explained a few basic conditions of Dragon Palace again. Not long after that, she arrived at the manor with Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan. Each disciple of Dragon Palace will have a single house. Your rooms are also in this manor, Palace Master White informed them. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan quickly noticed that the manor contained 4 independent houses, even though the area was not big. Fatty Wang. Palace Master White's voice echoed throughout the area. "Oh, I'm coming," a rough voice echoed back. After which, a big fat man in a blouse hurried out of one room and a timid figure hurried out of another room. Jian Wushuang looked at the 2 incoming people. That big fat man was not tall, but he was extremely large, weighing nearly 300 jins. That big face, larger than an ordinary person, was covered with a smile. But the smile seemed very quirky no matter what angle you looked from. As for the other person, she was a tall and thin girl with long blue hair. A young girl who appeared to be only 14 or 15 years old. She followed the big fat man, looking down in a very shy manner. It seemed like she was afraid to make eye contact with Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan. Palace Master White glanced at the big fat man and told him, "From now on, they will live in the manor with you. You can take them and familiarize them with environment of Dragon Palace. No problem." The big fat man nodded and promised. "These are your disciple tokens, which contain your points. In Dragon Palace, points are very important. Many of the resources in Dragon Palace can only be redeemed using points," said Palace Master White. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan took the tokens and examined the numbers. 2,000 points. Jian Wushuang felt excited, then he looked at Yang Zixuan's token. He had a full 6,000 points. I only have 2,000 points, but he has 6,000 points, 3 times mine. Is it possible that the points depend on how many levels you pass through in the Dragon Gate? Jian Wushuang secretly pondered. In his opinion, that was the only possibility given the situation. "Alright little guys, make sure to work hard. Many years from now, I hope to see another 2 excellent disciples emerge from my Dragon Palace," said Palace Master White, who smiled and then immediately departed. After Palace Master White walked away, the big fat man immediately looked over and introduced himself. "My name is Wang Yuan, and the girl next to me is Su Ru." "Swordsman," Jian Wushuang said. Yang Zixuan also introduced himself. "Swordsman, Yang Zixuan, your arrival made the manor considerably full. Come, for the first meeting, the 4 of us need to have a quick drink," replied Wang Yuan with a smile. Then, he turned up his hand and a wine pot appeared. After the stopper was opened, The aroma of the wine soon spread it out. Smelling the aroma, Jian Wushuang smiled. While on the other side, Yang Zixuan's indifferent expression also slightly relaxed a bit. After which, the four of them drank in front of the stone table in this manner. After drinking a few glasses of wine in succession, the atmosphere was no longer so boring. At this time, Wang Yuan said, "Swordsman, Yang Zixuan, we will not live in the manor together for more than several years. It's too polite to call each other by name. What if we call each other as brothers and sisters according to age? I'm the oldest, so I'm the elder brother. Yang Zixuan, your age is only a little younger than mine, so you are the second brother. Swordsman, you, the third brother. As for Su Ru, she's our fourth sister." "All right." Wang Yuan smiled and looked around. "Okay." Jian Wushuang nodded his head. After all, they will live in the same manner in the future, the relationship among them should be better. And after drinking, the three of them all left a good impression on him. Wang Yuan, he was a generous and careless person without any scheming. This kind of person is the most worthwhile to make friends with, except his talkativeness. Yang Zixuan, as indifferent as he is, did not put on airs. It's said that he is the one who broke into the 8th level of the Dragon Palace when he arrived. With such talent, he was still willing to sit down with them to have a few drinks. His eyes did not have the slightest bit of arrogance. For the point, making friends with him was very worthwhile. As for the last one, the little girl Su Ru, she's so timid and shy that she didn't dare to say one word while they were drinking. Jian Wushuang felt a little strange in the beginning, but later he heard from Fatty Wang that when Su Ru was a little girl, she had been sold to a mansion as a servant girl. To be a servant girl since childhood, it's normal for her to be so timid. However, this timid little girl had a great reputation in Dragon Palace. As mentioned before, among the disciples of Dragon Palace, only Bai Cheng had passed through the 8th floor. There were 16 disciples that had passed through the 7th level and Su Ru was one of them. And most importantly, this year, Su Ru was only 14 years old. The 14-year-old Su Ru broke through the 7th level of the Dragon Gate. What does that mean? So, after Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan learned of her achievement, they were both astonished. Similarly, Su Ru is also worth making friends with. Therefore, after hearing the proposal of Wang Yuan, Jian Wushuang immediately agreed. Yang Zixuan, as always, was indifferent, giving neither refusal nor opposition. As for the timid girl Su Ru, she nodded her head shyly. "Haha, since there is no objection, let us make this decision final. From now on, the four of us are siblings. We shall share happiness and hardship together," said Wang Yuan, then he smiled and lifted the cup for a toast. Without any hesitation, Jian Wushuang and Su Ru immediately raised their glasses. As for Yang Zixuan, he pondered for a while, then raised the glass too. Quang. With the toasting finished, the famous Qianzong dynasty and the four matchless heroes of the heaven and the earth were born. Chapter 66. Chapter 66, Secret Land of Heaven and Earth. After drinks, Wang Yuan was hanging out with Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan. "You two have just arrived at Dragon Palace. Let me show you around. I'll take you to the treasure troves of Dragon Palace," Wang Yuan said. "All right." Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan nodded. Dragon Palace covered a large area and was famous for 3 treasure troves, 4 temples of earth, fire, water, and wind, secret land of heaven and earth, and secret pavilion. The first place Wang Yuan brought them to was 4 temples of earth, fire, water, and wind. "Look, this is 4 temples of earth, fire, water, and wind." Wang Yuan pointed to the 4 pavilions which covered a wide area. Each pavilion had a gilded character engraved on the lintel, earth, fire, water, and wind respectively. The 4 temples of earth, fire, water, and wind are where the disciples of Dragon Palace visit the most. Earth, fire, water, and wind represent the 4 kinds of essence realm of heaven and earth, which are Earth Essence Realm, Raging Fire Realm, Water Drop Essence Realm, and Gale Essence Realm. There are 6 temple masters in each temple. They're the top experts in the world and have reached the highest level of comprehending Essence Realm of heaven and earth. The reason why disciples of Dragon Palace often visit 4 temples is that the temple masters usually give lessons in the temples, displaying some martial arts techniques and giving disciples some advice. If you have any problem in comprehending essence realm of heaven and earth, you can consult these temple masters. After receiving their guidance, you might be enlightened. On hearing this, Jian Wushuang's and Yang Zixuan's eyes lit up. If I have any problem in comprehending essence realm, I can consult these temple masters. What's more, there are 6 temple masters dealing with each essence realm. The 6 temple masters in each temple should be good at different aspects. It would be superior to following a top expert. Although a top expert would try his best to teach someone, he was alone and studied only one aspect. If he encountered unfamiliar fields, he would not know how to instruct them. In Dragon Palace, 4 temples covered 4 kinds of essence realms of heaven and earth. Each temple had 6 powerful temple masters, who studied various fields. Therefore, the disciples did not worry that they would encounter an unsolvable problem. Now we come to the secret land of heaven and earth. Wang Yuan led the way. Then they stood in front of a majestic palace. 2 golden-armored sergeants kept guard at the palace entrance. Wang Yuan said, "Secret land of heaven and earth is special and helpful at comprehending the essence realm of heaven and earth. If you want to enter secret land of heaven and earth, you need to pay 1,000 points to access the palace, and you can only stay inside for 2 hours each time. Though it is only 2 hours, I'm sure you'll benefit greatly from each visit. Moreover, you're newcomers in Dragon Palace, so each of you can enter the palace for free 3 times. Oh, Jian Wushuang said, raising his eyebrows. He had just been surprised at the 4 temples of earth, fire, water, and wind. The secret land of heaven and earth was as famous as the 4 temples. Jian Wushuang was somewhat curious about it, as the palace, with the harsh requirements to access it, must be extraordinary. How about it? Do you want to have a try? Wang Yuan smiled mysteriously. Sure. Jian Wushuang gave a little smile and then glanced at Yang Zixuan. Second elder brother, you go first. Yang Zixuan nodded and directly walked toward the palace. The 2 golden-armored sergeants stepped forwards, but immediately allowed Yang Zixuan to enter secret land of heaven and earth. 2 hours later, Yang Zixuan came out of it with a blank look. Second elder brother? Jian Wushuang frowned. Don't disturb him. He's in the state of comprehension. Wang Yuan was not surprised at all and spoke to Jian Wushuang. Third younger brother, it's your turn. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly, and then he stepped towards the secret land of heaven and earth. The 2 golden-armored sergeants walked forward again, and let Jian Wushuang enter after realizing that he was a newcomer. What on earth is stored in the secret land of heaven and earth? Jian Wushuang stepped into the secret land of heaven and earth with a flicker of curiosity. As soon as he entered, Jian Wushuang immediately felt himself surrounded by darkness. There was only a glimmer of light ahead in the endless darkness. Jian Wushuang could not help but look at the light. He was totally absorbed in it. The glimmer of light suddenly changed into a sword, which contained sword essence of gale, earth sword essence of raging fire, and sword essence of the water drop. He knew the 4 kinds of sword essence were unfathomable, although he had not comprehended the last 2. Jian Wushuang drew out triple kill sword behind him, the sword light starting to move. One after another, the ethereal sword light moved flexibly. Jian Wushuang then started to perform the anonymous swordsmanship. He easily showed the first move of anonymous swordsmanship, Blood Shadow. He did not encounter any problem either in performing the second move of anonymous swordsmanship, sword-killing movement. The third move of anonymous swordsmanship, named Expeditious Maneuver, was a terrifying killing move, emphasizing absolute speed. Jian Wushuang had not comprehended this move. He thought it was because his speed at unleashing the sword was not fast enough. In fact, it was related to his inferior comprehension of sword essence of gale. However, Jian Wushuang could not help wielding his long sword and slowly performed this move in this special situation. Hoo! The sword light flashed and then disappeared with the wind. He naturally performed the third move of anonymous swordsmanship, Expeditious Maneuver. Nevertheless, it was not over. As Jian Wushuang continued to wield long sword, the sword light became grander and more massive. Every beam of the sword light contained sword essence of earth. One strike after another. Suddenly, the glimmer of light disappeared. Jian Wushuang was slightly surprised and blankly stared into space. 2 hours, I've run out of time? Jian Wushuang looked into the darkness, sighing. Then he turned to leave. Jian Wushuang walked out of secret land of heaven and earth and saw his 3 sworn brothers waiting outside, but he ignored them and directly sat on the ground, with eyes closed. Wang Yuan, Yang Zixuan, and Su Ru were not angry at Jian Wushuang. They knew Jian Wushuang's state and did not want to disturb him. After a while, Jian Wushuang finally breathed a sigh of relief and immediately stood up. How about it? Wang Yuan asked with a smile. Good, very good. Jian Wushuang nodded heavily. The benefits from practicing in secret land of heaven and earth for 2 hours can be comparable to that from earnest cultivation in a month. Chapter 67. Chapter 67, The Secret Pavilion. What Jian Wushuang said was the truth. He had merely spent 2 hours inside the secret land of heaven and earth but made great progress in his understanding of the sword essence. My sword essence of earth and gale have both made huge progress in the third form of formless swordsmanship. Jian Wushuang was pleasantly surprised that those 2 hours were equivalent to his 1 month's worth of hard work, or more. Same here. I made great progress, too, Yang Zixuan said seriously. Haha. This is one of the 3 treasures of the Dragon Palace. The cost of entering it so high, naturally there's a high return too. You can enter the place 3 times. Since you've entered once, you must treasure your 2 remaining chances, Wang Yuan said, smiling. Come with me. I'll show you the last treasure of the Dragon Palace. They followed Wang Yuan to the entrance of a heavily guarded tall attic that exuded a faintly ancient scent. This attic is the most important of the 3 treasures of Dragon Palace, the secret pavilion. There are countless treasures in the secret pavilion, but you can only take them in exchange for points. Go in and have a look, Tianbao said. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan immediately entered the secret pavilion. Inside the large and spacious secret pavilion, the treasures were divided into many categories. There were cultivation methods, martial arts techniques, elixir pills, and exotic classes. With a heavenly creation skill that defied the natural order, Jian Wushuang had no need for cultivation methods. Neither did he need elixirs and exotic classes for now, so he made a beeline for the martial arts techniques section. The martial arts techniques section was divided into swordsmanship, knife methods, spear methods, and so on. Jian Wushuang left Yang Zixuan's side and headed straight for the swordsmanship section. The section stored nearly thousands of rare books on swordsmanship. Fortunately for Jian Wushuang, there was a list that he could refer to. Otherwise, he might need to flip through each book to find the one on his swordsmanship. The list detailed a number of swordsmanship, a basic introduction for each swordsmanship, as well as the points needed for exchange. But just from a quick glance, Jian Wushuang realized the lowest-ranked swordsmanship on this list was already top-notch ones. There was also no shortage of sword skills. Sword skills were beyond the scope of so-called swordsmanship. Generally, one needed to use sword skills with a display of sword essence understanding at the same time. Formless swordsmanship. The first item he looked for was the formless swordsmanship. He found out from Yi Rufeng that the formless swordsmanship was none other than the anonymous swordsmanship. The formless swordsmanship had 9 sword movements, and what he had been cultivating was merely the simplest first 3 of the swordsmanship. Found it. Jian Wushuang's eyes brightened when he found the formless swordsmanship on the list. Formless swordsmanship, the sword skill acknowledged by the Tianzong dynasty as world's number 1. It was suitable for warriors who understood the sword essence of Gale. There were 9 movements, and each was stronger than the one before it. Exchange for the first 3 movements with 200 points. Exchange for the middle 3 movements with 2000 points. The last 3 movements are unavailable. So it's true they only have the middle 3 movements, not the last 3. Jian Wushuang shook his head. He had heard this from Yi Rufeng on their way here. Though there were 9 sword strokes of the formless swordsmanship, The most powerful latter three were long lost to history. The Dragon Palace might be the cultivation sanctuary of the Qianzong dynasty, but not even they could recover sword movements in a swordsmanship that had been lost. I'll need to spend 2,000 points alone just for the middle three movements. Jian Wushuang frowned secretly, for his current score was precisely that number. There's no hurry. Let's look at other sword skills. Jian Wushuang was not anxious to make his decision yet. He started reading the category of swordsmanship for Sword Essence of Earth Understanding. His comprehension of Sword Essence of Earth was, in fact, far higher than Sword Essence of Gale. It was a pity that he did not have any suitable sword skill to display it all this while. Even in the mansion of Sword Marquis, the first-class swordsmanship he learned leaned toward the Earth Essence. But that was not even a first-class swordsmanship, let alone a super first-class swordsmanship. It was too weak that he could not even show the might of his Sword Essence of Earth to its fullest. Therefore, his immediate priority was finding a suitable sword skill in the Sword Essence of Earth. There were many sword skills on the list that was suitable for his goals. He finally selected 3 after carefully pondering over each one. They were Mark of Earth, Immemorial Sword Skill, and Formless Sword Wave. Mark of Earth required 2,500 points, while Immemorial Sword Skill required 3,000 points. Formless Sword Wave was divided into 2 sections, with each being 2,500 points. Though each of these sword tactics has its own advantages, I think the Formless Sword Ripple seems superior. It also suits me better, but the exchange rate is higher. Jian Wushuang frowned. The 2 sections would cost him 5,000 points. At the moment, he only had 2,000 points. Whatever. Since I don't have enough points for the other 2 sword skills now, I'll just not exchange for now. I'll just wait and find a way to get more points. It wouldn't be too late by then. He then left the swordsmanship section and began taking a stroll through the elixir pills and exotic classes section. There were all kinds of odd treasures and elixirs here, many of which were hard to find in the outside world. In the secret pavilion, one only needed points to get them. Before long, Jian Wushuang left the secret pavilion with Yang Zixuan. But before he left, Yang Zixuan spent 4,000 points to exchange for a martial arts technique. Jian Wushuang could only shrug his shoulders helplessly. There was nothing he could about it. Yang Zixuan had more points than him after all. When he came out of the sword pavilion, Wang Yuan came up to him. What do you think about the treasures in the secret pavilion? There are many of them, Jian Wushuang said. I've once visited the storehouse of a great power, but it's nothing compared to this place, Yang Zixuan added. Haha. Of course. This is the secret pavilion of the Dragon Palace. How can those so-called sects of the Qianzong dynasty compare to? As the disciples of this place, we can redeem the treasures if we have enough points. Wang Yuan smiled. Boss Wang Yuan, how can we get these points? Jian Wushuang asked. There are many ways. I'll tell you one by one, Wang Yuan replied, immediately describing each method. First method, go through the Dragon Gate Pass. There are 13 stories in the Dragon Gate. Starting at the 3rd level, you can get 1,000 points for passing through each level. After the 9th floor, you get 2,000 points each. I heard you mention that one of you passed the 8th floor and the other the 4th. Old 2, you earned 5,000 points. Old 3, you earned 1,000 points. But every newcomer also get 1,000 points for free, so you have 6,000 and 2,000 points respectively. Chapter 68. Chapter 68, Battle for Points. The second way is to complete a task. Dragon Palace provides various tasks for experience. Some of them are difficult, some are relatively simple. You will obtain points according to the complexity of the task. The third way is to battle for points. On hearing this, both Jian Wushuang and Yang Zixuan were puzzled. They could easily understand the first 2 ways, but could not figure out what the battle for points was. The battle for points is actually dueling. Wang Yuan spoke with a smile. There are more than 200 disciples of Dragon Palace with varying strength. As exceptional geniuses, they can be somewhat arrogant. As a result, they often fight with each other in Dragon Palace. Since there are fights, there are duels and bets. As for the bets, it's up to the two duelers. Got it. Jian Wushuang and Yang Zishuan immediately understood. Speaking of the battles for points, third younger brother, you should be careful. Wang Yuan suddenly spoke. Why? Jian Wushuang looked at him in surprise. Wang Yuan said, I just mentioned there are 3 ways to get points. First, going through the Dragon Gate. Many disciples will wait a long time to challenge, and they may not be successful. What's more, they can only gain a few points there. Second, complete tasks for experience. But only difficult tasks offer a lot of points. Disciples of Dragon Palace will face death trials while performing these tasks, so it's very dangerous. Only the third way, battle for points, is simple. You only need to challenge someone weaker than you and settle the bets. Disciples who have stayed in Dragon Palace for a period of time know the other disciples very well, so they won't easily accept challenges. However, you and second younger brother are different because you're newcomers. Jian Wushuang understood. You mean the other disciples of Dragon Palace will want to challenge me? Jian Wushuang asked. Right. Wang Yuan nodded. They are inclined to bully those weaker than them. You have just entered Dragon Palace, so they will treat you as a weakling. They will try their best to challenge you to a duel before you have time to use treasures of Dragon Palace to improve your strength. Of course, second younger brother is also a newcomer, but he made it through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate. He's so powerful that no one will dare to challenge him. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. We'll reach the martial arts practice field soon, where many disciples of Dragon Palace gather. Battle for points is usually held there. Third younger brother, you must remember my words. If someone challenges you, you can refuse directly or just ignore them. They cannot do anything to you. Wang Yuan reminded Jian Wushuang. Refuse? Why should I refuse? Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Don't be rash, third younger brother. It is not easy for you to earn points. Do not lose them by acting on impulse. Wang Yuan continued to persuade him. Don't worry. I know what to do, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. The 4 of them had finally arrived at the huge martial arts practice field. The martial arts practice field covered an extremely large area. There were quite a few disciples of Dragon Palace around the center of it. At the moment, all of them looked at the 4 people who just stepped inside. Ha, newcomers. I hear there are 2 new disciples. Those 2 must be the newcomers. The man with a cold expression is called Yang Zishuan. It's inconceivable that he has already gone through the 8th level of the Dragon Gate. He must be a monster on the same level as Bai Cheng. Yang Zishuan, an exceptional genius. We're not comparable to him. The other person was called Swordsman. I hear he only made it through the 4th level. The 4th level means that his strength is at the bottom of Dragon Palace. Going through the 4th level is worth 1,000 points. And since he's a newcomer, he also received 1,000 points for free. In other words, he has 2,000 points now. Yang Zishuan should have attracted more attention, because of his brilliant results. Nevertheless, none of the disciples of Dragon Palace looked at him. All eyes were fixed on Jian Wushuang. Their eyes were full of expectation. It looks like I'm popular. Jian Wushuang noticed that their eyes sparkled with eagerness, the corner of his mouth lifted up. Haha, you are swordsman, right? A laughter could be heard along with the question. Then a red-haired young man with a saber on his back appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. The aura of spiritual power in the exceptional spiritual sea realm spread out. He said, with an expectant look, I'm Zhong Dao. I hear you have gone through the 4th level of the Dragon Gate. So have I. Do you have the guts to have a fair fight with me? Looking at Zhong Dao, Jian Wushuang was delighted in his heart. The other disciples of Dragon Palace were furious. Damn it. He got there first. Zhong Dao is really fast. I hope the newcomer does not accept his challenge. Zhong Dao. Wang Yuan frowned and shouted in a low voice. It's been a year since you went through the 4th level. Now your strength has improved greatly to the point that you can challenge the 5th level. Aren't you embarrassed to talk about having a fair fight with my brother? Third younger brother, leave him alone, said Wang Yuan, winking at Jian Wushuang. What? Are you afraid of fighting with me? If you became a disciple of Dragon Palace, you must be a genius. Don't you have the guts? Zhong Dao spoke directly, then laughed out. Zhong Dao, right? Jian Wushuang raised his head and stared at Zhong Dao with a faint smile. You don't need to provoke me. I accept your challenge. Tell me how many points you want to bet. Cool. Zhong Dao was glad that Jian Wushuang accepted his challenge. I know you should have 2,000 points. I will not bet for all of them, just 1,500 points. That will leave you with 500 points to choose a manual from the General Hall in Secret Pavilion. What do you think? 1,500 points? Zhong Dao, you have a huge appetite. Wang Yuan spoke angrily. It's true. He has a total of 2,000 points. Only, you want 1,500 points. Isn't that too much? A disciple of Dragon Palace spoke up from the side. He also coveted Jian Wushuang's 2,000 points. 1,500 points. It's too much indeed. Well, I can bet 1,000 points, Jian Wushuang said. Okay, 1,000 points. Zhong Dao agreed without hesitation, secretly delighted. Zhong Dao thought that Jian Wushuang was not his match. Jian Wushuang had just become a disciple of Dragon Palace and had only made it through the 4th level of the Dragon Gate. Zhong Dao went through the 4th level a year ago. Since then, his strength had improved greatly with the help of the resources from Dragon Palace. Therefore, he thought he would win this fight no matter what would happen. He was over the moon when thinking about the 1,000 points. It was not a small amount for him, as it was hard to gain points in Dragon Palace. Haha, watch out. Zhong Dao spoke. He directly rushed forward. With a single stride, he appeared before Jian Wushuang and drew the saber on his back. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,